Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, good evening, good evening. And it's another, what should I say, Thursday evening. Thursday evening in the UK. Thanks for those on Instagram. Well, actually, not Instagram, but TikTok. Actually, TikTok. Thank you for coming on tonight. And this is in review, whereby we look at some of the news that we think is key news. There's so many things going on around the world, but let's look a focus on the UK. Some breaking. Well, I don't know if it's breaking or so. It's not break. It's not breaking now, but there was the. Let me see the Downing Street scare. There's a vehicle that drove up to Downing Street, and that was a scare, I must say. Uh, and that was something which was major concern, because it could have been bigger than that, but somehow it was sort of. So let me just see. Let me just touch base here. Take a look when you can. Blessings. Okay, good. Hey, Garry, how are you doing?
Not bad, man. Not bad. Not bad. How are you?
Not bad. You are in the land of Trump.
Yeah, I am broadcasting from the sunshine state of Florida, the city of Fort Lauderdale. Lauderdale, to be exact.
That's Ron DeSantis, isn't it?
Well, if it's anywhere near him, yes. He's the governor of Florida, isn't he? Of
Yeah.
Miami or Florida.
It is very interesting that when you speak of America, sometimes people talk about the land of Trump, you know, because anything can flow and anything can happen in the next year or two when the next election is going to be.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty about the social media and the whole aspect following from the COVID period is that many people can actually go online from wherever they are. But I don't think you can go to church. Well, actually, people are doing churches from wherever now, even on virtual, isn't it? Following from COVID,
True.
True. But nothing actually beats the one-to-one with person. What is it like over there in comparison? I mean, I know you're with the family. What is it like over there in comparison to the UK in Fort Lauderdale there?
In relation to what?
Well, generally speaking, like how you are there now, and in the UK, what are some of the striking difference, especially in communities there? I don't know. I can only say what would you say is a alarming, striking difference, if there's any, while they're in Fort Lauderdale?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't really been anywhere. So I'm not seeing a lot of people. I've come, I'm visiting Fort Lauderdale because of my mom. Really, she's not very well. So
yes, yeah.
I'm not really moving around as
if you're would. Yeah, as if you're a tourist or anything like that. Yeah.
But I mean, in relation, so I can't really address probably the question that you've asked, but I think that COVID really has ushered in a new world, in as much as you can continue doing whatever you've been doing. For instance, every Thursday when I'm in England, I'm here with you.
Yes.
And now I'm across the pond, the same time, different time zone, yes, but the same time with you. And if you didn't say that I was in the land of Trump, then nobody would have noticed.
Nobody would have known. I think that you're still here, right here in the UK. That's the awesome thing. That's why there's a guy named Corey. Sometimes he comes on the show and we ask him, where is he? And he says, he's on the internet.
Yes, yes.
You know,
So
he's on the internet. And but before we go touch on into UK, as you said, you haven't touched on anything in the States. Is there anything striking, like any newsworthy thing in the States, other than the fact that we talk about her shortly? Tina Turner passed away.
well, I mean, I think the what I have noticed that they're talking about here is the DeSantis story in relation in that he I think it was it yesterday or the day before that
Mm,
he came out to say that he has thrown his hat into the ring for the
okay.
person to be nominated within the Republican Party
Yes.
as the
Yes.
nominee to run for the president of the United States.
Mm.
But from my point of view, and I think from what I'm hearing, he is not very well liked. He is not very well liked at all.
Is that in
And
comparison to Trump? Because they seem to be very well liked in that area where he's at in the States. He
well,
tends to
again,
be standing the ground, standing his ground.
he tends to be, but I think that the businesses, he's made a few decisions. For instance,
Mm,
Disney wanted to spend, I think, 1 billion US dollars, and because of his stance on homosexuality and all of that, which okay, it's a good thing that he can make a stand, but Disney has
yeah.
decided not to spend that money in Florida, really. So
Mm,
they've lost out on that.
yes.
So business wise, I don't think he's well liked. He's not very well liked at all, really.
So
Um,
it is strikingly looking like it's a Trump thing.
it will look that way. Now, even with the Trump thing, listening to the news here, I've been
Mm,
here from Monday, it's Thursday now. So, listening on the news to what's happening with Trump, that doesn't really seem to be in his favor at all either. I think it's going to take a miracle for Trump to get out of whatever he's getting out of.
yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
again, the news in the UK, or let me say the news probably in Europe, what may be filtering there is slightly different to what may be here. Because here you're getting the raw, even though again there may be some control on um there may be some control on what's
Mm,
being given or what has been said, but there is a slight difference in
yeah.
what's being reported.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, Sylbourne, I think yesterday, I think it was yesterday, it was 1 year to the day of the shooting in Uvalde, if you remember.
Uvalde. Yes.
Yeah. So that was another big news item. That
And
was very,
I think there's also some big news item regarding Floyd Floyd George as well. The anniversary or something like that, or one of the period of time that they're talking about. Yeah,
mhm.
but while you're there in the UK, as I mentioned something to you, it sounded like I was scared, scared when I say there's an attack on Downing Street. You say, what's that? What?
Yeah, I didn't see
You
it
know?
at all. Yeah, I had to call to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
I was wondering if Zelensky's
You mean Russia trying to find Zelensky? No. It was. Well, I actually it. They said it was a breaking news, but after watching it a bit, and I don't have the video, but it was a car driving very slow from across the road onto number 10 Downing Street by the gates. And
right,
anyone who knows the gates by number 10 Downing Street know that it's very secure because you got the boulders that actually is up there first.
right.
And because I've been there a couple of times, and you go through, there's a massive security presence there at the same time.
Well, they
But
know you there, don't they?
I don't know if don't know if security them know me, but I've been there a couple of times. As a matter of fact, the picture which I took when I went there was a picture which the policeman took. The police
Really?
actually, yeah, the police was the guy. The police was just standing there. He was the one who actually took the picture. Um,
Oh,
there because you weren't supposed to bring in like or taking pictures while you're inside there,
Right.
and couple official pictures that I got was with Cameron, and so, but it's a very secure spot, as you can see, very secure, as you can see there. Um, so what seemed to be the issue, and this is an elderly gentleman. The man has been arrested after a car crash into the Downing Street gates. Car into the Downing
Yes.
Street gates, right? And I I think anyone would be scared of something else just because they drive up there and maybe not impact. They've got to think about any other major thing that could have happened there, like a bee, you
Right.
know what I mean? And so that's why they're telling people to move away, and they got the security um police there, and the police who came after a while, they moved away, and it was left to it wasn't a terrorist thing after, it was downscale to um the police around the area. One witness said he saw the police officers pointing tasers at a man um who was held face to the floor as he was detained. No one was injured in the incident. Number 10 has confirmed Rishi Sunak was in Downing Street at the same time. And the area in Whitehall, the main road which runs through the heart of several government offices, was partially evacuated following the incident at 16:20. Where was I? I
Right.
think I was busy on cases or so. And the road has since been reopened to traffic, and the police has cordon has been removed. At 19:45, the car was loaded onto a police recovery vehicle and removed from the scene. You know, so that was a scare in a way.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and the other thing also, because I believe in the States there was something that happened of recent days with the White House, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was yesterday.
Yeah,
If it was yesterday or the day before, today's Wednesday, today's Thursday. I think it
yeah,
was Tuesday, where a gentleman drove a van, one of them U-Haul vans, or into the bollards at the White House, and
yeah.
he drove in. I think it was a deliberate attempt to get in. What
Really?
he was going to do, yeah, what he was going to do in there, we're not too sure, but it was a deliberate thing. So when
Well,
you, so
yeah,
when you messaged me about
yeah.
Downing Street, that just happened. I just thought, well, I wonder if there is a plan, or it's been a plan to do something like this. You know?
On a similar level.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
well, the in the States, what it says is that a Missouri teenager, Sid Varshit, you know, that's his name.
yeah.
19, he told the FBI he wanted to kill Biden and take over the
Right.
White and take over after crashing or haul truck into White House security gate while carrying a swastika flag.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you know. So that's the thing there. Missouri teenager who crashed into the White House security bars last night has been charged with trying to kill, kidnap, or harm the president, vice president, or a family member from Chesterfield. There. Um, so that's that. I think um it everyone is going to be now, what should I say, very concerned and looking out for themselves in different countries now, because it could have been, or it could be seen to be what should I say, possible alerts, possible attack against world leaders, if anything. I mean, even in
Well,
Jamaica. Sorry, go on.
that's what I was thinking,
Yeah,
because exactly what you just said when you told me that somebody drove their car into the
yeah.
gates of Downing Street, is the same thing that came to my mind, that it could be more than what we are being told. Really,
Mm.
something else could be happening.
Yeah. In Jamaica, for argument's sake, with the whole issue with the crisis of the salary and the fact that the government took 200 to 300 percentage increase, there is some guy came out saying Andrew Holness or blah blah blah, making threats to blah. So therefore, they're also on alert as well, because you can never take it for granted when somebody makes some sort of threat or so. So that's the
Yeah.
thing. So I guess world leaders are somewhat maybe very receptive to all things are, because we have been talking about this for a while, that the world leaders are somewhat falling short of many things now, falling so short. So people are angry, people are annoyed. Um, Gary, no,
People would be. I mean, do you really expect decisions to be made? For instance, just like
mm,
what Anthony or Andrew Holness has done, or
yeah,
the government has done, and people not respond. People will.
yeah,
People are going to respond.
yeah, and
People are
people are
going to
responding.
respond.
Yeah, yeah, and people are responding in many different ways. I mean, we touch base on that to the end, but also talking about people responding, there's more aspect to it, Gary, because one of the things that the energy bills, this is what they said, set to stay high despite price cut.
Mm.
Energy bills set to stay high despite price cut. There it is. Energy bills set to stay high despite price cap cut. Now, many people are a bit very disenchanted and very annoyed by this. I mean, because recently the bankers were being taken to the task, because just as when interest rate goes up, waboom, interest rate goes up on your house, your mortgage, and everything like that, but it don't go up on the housing. Sorry, on the
Mm.
savings. So
Mm.
energy bills set to stay high despite cap. So many people are looking at that and say, this is so unfair, man. This is so unfair, because everybody's looking for some sort of break now. And and what it talks about is that a typical household will pay like 2,174 a year for gas. And I haven't checked up my thing, but just keep, just sometimes you good, sometimes you don't want to check it because you'll be surprised what it is saying. But
Yeah.
2,074 a year for gas and electricity from July, 426 a year less than currently after the regulator cut the energy price cap for England, Scotland, and Wales. And people need to know this. Government help in recent months has limited the bill to 2,500. Prices are not expected to fall much further over the rest of the year and could edge up in winter. And Gary, think about this. This is now summer, and this summer is going to go very fast. I don't know. Time is moving so fast, isn't it? Time is moving
Very,
so fast. And waboom,
very.
we're going to get straight back into winter. Unless, and let's see if they're going to keep blaming Putin, you know?
You see, you see, just like what they have said about the energy crisis or the energy prices, they're not,
Yeah.
well, they're set to stay high. I mean, we we see it in the fuel prices. They're not coming down.
Mm.
Even though the news, even though reports have said that the wholesale market for oil has gone down, but yet is not being transferred to the pumps.
Is that fair?
So obviously, a lot of these companies are going to make exorbitant amount of profit at the end of the year.
So we're expecting to see some more bumper profits when it comes up in the papers, and they're going to be having
Correct.
competition. The Shell, BP, Esso. Then you're going to have a period where they're all starting to give a competition, a running commentary as to how much these guys have just been making, which is a total shame.
Yeah, yeah.
But is it that the people are just, they can't bother, Gary? You don't can't bother? The people can't bother? What do
can't,
you guys say? You can't bother?
can't bother to
Just
do
accept
it.
it?
To well, it's going to me, it's going to happen when we just don't know.
Hmm.
But people are going to there's a section of the community, whatever that community
Yeah.
is, that's going to not be able to contain the pressure. I would
Yeah.
suggest, I would suggest, look towards the universities, look towards the centers of education, because in the past, it has always been that it is at these areas that there always seems to be a revolt,
I
where
mean,
people who are
create
thinking,
some rumpus.
yeah, it's not always in the areas where there is poverty and such, even though that does give indications at times. But it's
Yeah.
the elite, no, it's that part of the society
Mm.
that is thinking, and because they're thinking and they're thinking of better ways to deal with things, then obviously there's going to be some response to the way how the government and those who are in power, there's going to be some response and indication of
Mm.
saying you can do things better. There's too much pressure. There's too much pressure. And in every society, on every continent, in every dispensation of time, there's always been a valve that releases the pressure that's going on at that time. And it all
Mm.
depends on how that pressure is released. But I believe that there will be some letting off of the steam. Where and when, I'm not a prophet to say. I
Yeah.
cannot say. But the time is coming, Sylbourne.
So you think the spirit of France will come up on the UK?
It could.
Mm.
It could.
And when
I
you said
mean,
it, and when you said this, yeah, go on, yeah,
to me, England does have its release valve. Probably is
yes,
not as the way how France does it, but
yeah,
England does have its relief valve, and that will blow. Now, how it's going to
mm,
happen, I don't know. The English are rather, as they would say, the stiff upper lip.
yes,
Upper lip. They do things a little bit more formal and such. But I think that things will happen that the government will have to only but take note, because it won't be business as normal.
mm, yeah. There's something else. If you move on from that, and of course, I think before I leave on from that particular point is that I think we're still at that junction there whereby with the whole world and everybody's trying to find a way how to counter the high cost of living. It happens everywhere, it happens in every different country. Jamaica is actually reeling through it. And why it's so very prevalent and prevalent in Jamaica is because people are seeing the government taking a certain amount and they're all feeling it. In the UK as well, there were 2 days of strike recently, I believe. I forget if it was RMT or so. So people are still striking, trying to get a good deal, trying to get a good offer. People are actually changing jobs when it comes on to agency staff because they're actually not loyal anymore to companies. They're more loyal to which company always going to pay them more. That's a level of loyalty which is happening, you know. And so so people will have to somehow create, and I'm sure you'll agree, extra streams of income.
Yeah.
You got people online that talk about different streams of income instead of waiting for things to happen to make things happen. And that is something that I've always said because, Gary, all of the persons who are out there capitalizing on everything, they are creating more opportunities for themselves and themselves and themselves. So
Yes.
therefore, I I I wouldn't hold my breath to say that things, as you rightly say, will come down unless something fundamentally pushes it. Because it's like, I don't know if it is you were saying it, it's like they know where they want to go and they're breaking it in step by step.
Mm.
you know? Um the other thing also is that the migration figures, you know, says numbers too high after new record set. Net migration is too high, the prime minister said. After data confirmed levels, the immigration saw the country's overall population increase by 606,000 in 2022, according to the Office of National Statistics. And they said more people from the EU, from outside the EU, arriving on student and working visas, as well as the Ukraine and Hong Kong schemes, all contributed. You know, PM said that the migration, but the PM said that migration was not out of control, but it's gone. But there's an increase of 606,000. You know, I wonder how much people that is in the UK. You know, what do you think about this? I mean, they're still trying to get people to Rwanda, though. That's just going to be very small skins. You know, it's very little.
Well, again, I'm not surprised because they have taken in a lot of the Ukrainians, isn't it? They've
Mm,
taken a bit of the Ukrainians, and they've taken in those from Hong Kong, as you said. Now, the illegal immigrants that are coming in on the boats and such, they are going to Rwanda. Now, it's funny that you should mention that because it did come back to
mm,
me
mm.
that something has happened in Rwanda in recent weeks.
In
I
Rwanda,
don't think, yes,
yeah.
something has happened in Rwanda in recent weeks, and I'm wondering how how can um how can we be sending people back there when things in Rwanda is not as,
Uncle Dory,
yeah,
what
because
is that? What has happened in Rwanda? What has happened in Rwanda?
I can't remember, something
All right,
happened
you keep
with,
talking. I'll find it.
oh,
I'll look
floods.
for
I
something.
think there's some floods. I think there were some floods that happened, rain, and it's almost becoming a humanitarian crisis down there in a certain area of Rwanda. So I'm thinking, well, how can Rwanda be taking people in from the UK, but yet they have a problem there with those with the very inhabitants or citizens of their own country,
Yeah,
and yet
yeah.
they have to be asking help from the
If one,
outside.
yeah, if one put it into perspective, what it's saying is that at least 115 dead in Rwanda after heavy rains, trigger floods, and mudslides. Um, at least 115 have died as floods and mudslides swept through northern and western Rwanda after
Right.
torrential rains, according to the. But Gary, it is it's not as if to say it is it's an act of God in a way. Is I'm just saying. I was thinking that maybe it was something of a fundamental nature that actually would impact the policy, but
Well,
it's not.
it has impacted the country. It has impacted the country,
Mm,
and you know, that still, that won't change my view on what I've said, that England should not be sending anybody to Rwanda,
yeah, yeah,
and
I,
Rwanda should not
yeah.
get it. Should not,
Mm. I think where it is
you
at
know.
now, Gary, and where the world is now at. I think the world is now at a point whereby, um, and I said it before, it's like there's got to be this borderless state around, whereby, um, no one can sort of claim that this is their world, this is their country. Everybody has a big pot to play. As someone said the other day, um, yeah, they came to Africa in their boats and they took people over into this world, and now the people are coming freely with boats, and they're saying it's an invasion. you know, saying actually they're actually taking over, but really and truly, I don't see the end in sight for this, but I would love to see if the policy will work. Not saying that I want it to work, but I love to see if it work because at least it is some sort of solution, but maybe it's not the solution that many want at the same time, but it's some sort of solution in the whole thing, in the whole scheme of things, Gary. With this immigration migration bit, because you know even in Jamaica, and a lot of teachers, according to what I'm going to understand, are going to believe in Jamaica, and the UK is calling for them, the USA is calling for them, Canada is calling for them, nurses likewise. There's going to be this other another level of brain drain if the government doesn't hijack the whole thing, which is happening, and make it right as possible. And therefore, the UK is going to have the UK now is at 67 million, Gary. 67.33
Mm,
million. That was 2021. Yeah. 67.33 million. And they said it has increased recent last time to 660. So therefore, it could be 68 million.
mm,
And it's going up. And that is why they're talking about resources are totally stretched. And that is one of the arguments that they're using in favor of having a strong immigration policy, because resources are totally stretched, you know, and things like that. So uh yeah. That's where we are with that bit there, you know. But anyway, on another thing though, I don't know if you were born it, or you maybe just older than you, but Tina Turner passed away. Yeah, I don't know, Gary. You
yeah.
can confirm.
I mean, she she she's been an icon, man. She's been around
Yeah.
since. I mean, I was saying to my dad earlier on that there are certain individuals in the last couple of years
Mm.
where people are dying. We when we were born, we heard of them, we saw them. We would never have thought that they could die,
Yes,
and
yes,
now
yes.
one of them being Tina Turner has died. I mean, it's a shock to the system. It's a shock to the world
Mm.
because I
80,
think that she did bring some value in as much as music is and has been to the world. But she's gone. She's gone.
what does that say when it comes on to life, in a way, when
She's
people
gone, my
are
friend. She's gone.
when people are somewhat, as you rightly say, expecting that people will live forever, then all of a sudden they are no more, you know, and then people are actually shocked, and people
Mm,
are wondering what's happening, because the people that they know, it's like these last days, guys I went to school with through the COVID period
mm, mm,
are passing away. People that you now that it's not like your grandparent or your elderly parent or so, but people that you went to school with. you know, and it talks about the key thing about the afterlife. People say, where do they go?
mm,
Is it just ashes to ashes? Is it just dust to dust? Where do people go? That's a big question, and that's a big question that came out during the whole COVID time. Where do people go? Many people were scared of COVID, not just because of the fact that will give you the sickness and you may pass away, but I believe because people were not sure where they were gonna go,
mm.
and that's a scary bit because one is unsure. Yeah, and these moments are things. It's a Tina Turner was an American-born naturalized Swiss singer known as the Queen of Rock and Roll, rose to prominence as the lead singer of the
Yeah, yeah.
Icon Tina Turner Review before launching a successful career as a solo performer. Turner began her career with Ike Turner Kings of Rhythm in 1957. Rolling, 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 private dance, and all these different
Rolling.
songs. You know, and
Yeah.
and they said,
They've gone on to reap their eternal reward, man.
"I didn't get a
They've
Gary."
gone on to reap their eternal reward.
Yes.
They've
And what do
gone
you
on
think
to
eternal?
reap their eternal reward.
And what do you think the eternal reward
Huh?
is? What do you think the eternal reward is? Whatever they
I
sow on earth.
I I don't I can't judge. I can't judge them.
Yeah. Whatever you sow on earth, want to reap in heaven or wherever you reap it,
I don't know. I really don't.
But in
Mm,
I had an interview with Mr. Mr. Joseph Patterson. Joseph Patterson, who is the chair, the president of United Independence Congress, Jamaica, a couple of weeks ago, and the show came out yesterday. And I'm supposed to have some more interviews with different persons as well, because Jamaica is heating up, because it is felt like there's a
mm,
disconnect between the prime minister or the government and the people. Some are saying that maybe it could be a
right.
9 day wonder. You know, yeah. Can you hear me clearly? You can hear me clearly. Let me see.
Mm. You're
Can you hear me?
sometimes I lose your picture. Sometimes I lose your picture. Sometimes your picture freezes, and I miss sometimes different aspects of your conversation. Your picture freezes.
Okay, I was just listening to it a bit a
Are
while
you
ago, and I
there?
want to say I'm here. I was just listening to it a bit a while ago, and I realized it is something to do with your flow line in Fort Lauderdale, Gary. I think you're frozen. I think it has something to do with the reception there. Let me ask you to come back in. Okay, so I'll ask Gary to come back in. Yeah. Um, I don't. Those on TikTok. Please like the videos. So those on YouTube, please share. They We were just talking about until Gary comes back. I was just talking about the UIC president, which I had on the show recently, and it's a show which is going to be shown, or it is on YouTube. Mr. Joseph Patterson talking about the UIC and talking about the republic that Jamaica need. You know, and let me see something. Gary, is that better?
Yes, much better. Did you throw me out, or did it?
No, no, no. I thought you said you were gonna remove and come back. So I said, let me just make it quicker for you.
Okay, I didn't hear
Yeah.
any of that really.
Oh, you didn't
Okay.
hear? Okay. Yeah, you're frozen. Yeah, you're frozen. Sorry. Sometimes you have to come out and go back in. Yeah. So I
Mm,
was talking about the UIC person talking about Jamaica becoming a republic, and that is on my channel, which is Sylbourne TV on YouTube. Very good show to watch.
right.
It's not about the messenger at many times, but it's about the message which he's actually saying.
Mm,
And and at present, while the republic debate is going on, the salary issue is taking life as well in Jamaica, because they are demonstrating every lunchtime, um, for a couple hours in front at National Heroes Circle. They want the prime minister to roll back the 200 to 300% increase that they gave them for salaries, Gary, for
mm,
salaries.
yeah.
The opposition party is actually now saying, yes, just roll it back and start afresh. And I don't know, anybody can say, but this morning I was actually thinking about it very seriously, and I was doing my walk, and I put a clip of it on YouTube, on Instagram, and also on TikTok, where I say that if there's a disconnect, Gary, if there's a disconnect with the government of a country and the people, and they are not hearing, and they maybe think that they know better, I think that they have lost their moral compass, and they have lost the moral authority. There's a song, which a beautiful song that is sung by the lady that star in Harriet Tubman, Harriet, the movie, and she said, "Take my people with you." And what she was talking about is when she was trying to free people, take my people with you. And the song is about
Uh,
taking my people with you. And if a government is not able to take the people with them, that means to say they're almost like a dead man walking. like that movie Green Mile, dead man walking, because they are not somehow connected, and maybe they've just lost it, and maybe it's time for them to move
Right.
on. That's what I pick up that very strongly about the plight Jamaica is in. And also, yeah, what do you think about that? You can hear Gary, yeah? Can you hear?
Yeah,
I don't think you
I
can
can
hear.
hear.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think about that? Can you hear Gary? I don't think you can
Um,
hear. Hmm, sorry.
repeat that last statement again.
The last statement I said is that if a government somehow is not hearing the people, and somehow there's a disconnect, and if they're not taking the people with them with their policies and where they want to go, then they're at this point where you could say it is a dead man walking. They've lost the moral compass.
Yes, I would.
They've lost the moral authority to take the country further, to take the people forward further, because there's a massive groundswell moving away from politics, but losing the heart of the people.
Well, yes. I mean, I would agree with that totally,
Mm.
Sylbourne. I mean,
Yeah,
if the government, who put the government in? Isn't it
the
the
people,
people?
the people put the
Right.
government in. Yes. Mm.
So if the people put the government in, those who they believe are well able to lead them, to make
Yes.
decisions best for them,
Mm.
if they are then then become to be making decisions wholly and solely for themselves, then they've lost, they straight away they've lost the will and the majority of the people, because that's not what the people
Mm.
put them in there to do.
Yeah.
The people
Yeah.
have put them in there to rule, to make the decisions for them, the best decisions that there is for them, for their protection, for their provision, to look after them, not for
Yeah.
themselves. So
Mm.
what the government, and this is any government really, what they then should do is, once they've lost the moral ground,
Mm.
they go back to the country. They go back. They step down and say, "Listen, sorry, we are governing not for the majority. We need to govern for you. We
Yeah.
need to be of the right
Mm.
frame of mind. So let's go back to the country."
And get.
If these people need to step away from government altogether, then that's what
Mm.
they should do.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, because what is being picked up is like the government of the day somehow, you know, take it that they know more, they know better, and
Right,
the
right,
majority of people, and the groundswell and the feedback coming on is people are saying, no, you need to start all over again. Moral compass, that is something. So therefore people are striking. And the other thing I was thinking about this, and this is something that anyone that deals with African affairs, slavery, can resonate with. Many people say that the transatlantic slavery period, the killing of black people, many people are still suffering the traumatic experience of that time. They're suffering it. And the psychological scar is still strong.
right,
And then I started to think about it a bit, because my job, I have to instruct psychologists, psychiatrists, in cases whereby with children, I have to instruct to assess children, to assess a family, to
right,
assess parents. And there's always this thing about emotional harm. There are three things that come out in children most time: psychological, sexual harm, you know, physical harm, emotional harm. Those are some of the three things. But emotional harm is always the one that absorbs everything from the others. Because sexual harm, it leads into emotional. Physical, it leads to emotional as well. Domestic violence, DV, leads into emotional as well, and all those sort of things. And therefore, I'm thinking that psychologically, the people are being scarred, traumatized. Gary, especially the person who is not able to say travel, can't get out of the situation, and they see the leader by saying they're going to give themselves this amount of money, and then after that they come back and say, I'm going to actually leave it, I won't take it. It's like hang on a second, you're so cool, you got it so well that you can say, I don't want the 20 million, I don't want the 10 million or so, while some people are struggling to get bread. You know what I'm trying to say? And it's like, I believe it's messing with people's mind. It's psychological, traumatic, and it's like manipulative at the same time. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. IC3 says Sylbourne Sydial must accompany us, the unregistered Black National Party BNP, to the Jamaica to make a presentation about reparations. Yeah. BNP wasn't BNP was a British National Party one time? BNP when they called it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they're not calling it Black National Party. Yeah. No, I'm happy. I'm happy to pop down and to go to the High Commission and to walk with the people. I'm happy if some people say they are going to stand outside the High Commission and make their point clear. I'm happy to stand and record it because I think it's important. Why would I stand and go and meet someone from Jamaica, Mr. Pattison in Westminster? I won't go and meet with fellow Jamaicans in the UK. That don't make sense. So yes,
Mhm.
unless you know. So yeah, so one has got to stand as much with the people in Jamaica because I believe it's a watershed moment. It's a watershed moment. It's a period of time whereby the future will depend on it, and the future children will depend on it because I believe it will set the stage for a reckoning. Because Gary, do you know what it is? I understand that if I'm people with these guys when they get pension, they get the same money that they get when they're working.
Well, I mean, I don't think them pensions will be are around anymore, really. Those are long
What?
time pensions.
No, that's what I hear that they're getting the same money. That is why they said
Who?
the prime minister. That is why they said if Andrew Holness give back the money or so and don't take it, it's gonna. They said it's gonna affect the former prime ministers.
Well, I don't. Well, I don't
You know.
know. I mean, it's going to take an enormous amount of wisdom. It
Uh,
has to take an enormous amount of wisdom for any man or woman to stand in the congregation of believers today and say, enough is enough. I don't want it. I'm trusting the Lord. And instead of placing your hand in their, um,
there you go. I leave you. We can take that.
no, no, no.
Yeah.
In,
Uh,
in, in trusting, in trusting the Lord, really. Um, yeah, but you see, the moral compass of men today, you have to wonder if if there are some people that have any
moral morality
yeah,
left in
any
them.
moral. Yeah. You have to wonder if there's any
Mm,
conscience.
mm, mm.
You have to wonder because, okay, look at I think it was you that was showing me or showing us, was it, about bringing the standard of the Jamaica prime minister up to the standard of a UK prime minister,
Mm,
knowing that the UK is the sixth largest economy in the world.
mm,
Now, okay, everybody's feeling the pitch, but the UK can pay that salary. If the UK is the sixth largest economy in the world, then the UK can afford to pay that. Jamaica is nowhere near a large economy. It's nowhere near there. So
Yeah.
so you shouldn't, you can't. Okay, I mean, it's he's the prime minister of Jamaica, Rishi is the prime minister of UK. Okay, you can probably say and show that it's more or less the same kind of responsibility, but it's not the same.
Mm.
It's not the same. It's a Jamaica is a smaller place. It's a smaller economy. It's not exporting what it used to export back in the 60s and probably 70s.
Yeah.
It's exporting. It's No, it's not right. It's not exporting what the things are or were back in as they are today. They are
Yeah.
importing more than they export,
Mm. And
and they
of
will
course,
pay.
yeah. And as I mentioned, there, the UK Prime Minister is a Prime Minister of 67.33 million people in 2021, which has gone up by 606,000. So therefore, and the Prime Minister of Jamaica is a Prime Minister of just under 3 million people,
Right,
Gary.
right.
So it is totally ludicrous, and all the explanations which have been given, you know. But anyway, I might be getting the Minister of Information who said he's happy to come on the show to talk about it as well. Um, but I think the best thing really is to take the people with you, and if the people are saying so, because politicians always have access, and as someone said recently, these are, unless a prime minister is, but these are really, Gary, these are part-time jobs, because a government ministry is run by a permanent secretary, really, and the civil servants. When over here, when the prime minister gone on holidays, when different people are not well, it is the civil servants or the civil service who is actually running the things, right? So
Right,
so minutes
right,
so ministers and MPs are really part-time persons, and they should be working at the same time. 86,000 or so is the MP over here salary. I think Jamaican MPs, when they work out to the US dollars, Jamaican dollars is much more. I'm not too sure, but that's the thing there. So, well, so those are just my thoughts on ending on the Jamaica plight there. But the most important thing with the cost of living is that people will have to somehow stop relying on government, even though government actually set the stage and set the foundation and is an oiling mechanism that get things running. But if the government has lost the air for the people and somehow reach to the point where they are somehow deemed to be like they know it all, then it's time for them to go because they've lost the people.
mm, mm.
They've lost the people, and that's the unfortunate thing. And they say any donkey can win after that. Not saying any we don't want a donkey to win the next election.
No, I mean, I don't know. Our world today, when you look at the situation
Mm,
of things, my brother, when you look at the situation of societies,
yeah.
um, this world has not been in this position ever,
Mm,
and the leaders of our world,
yeah.
those who are in, and that has extraordinary amount of power influence, they don't know what to do.
Mm,
They just don't know what to do. Um, they stand and I'm not saying also that the leaders of yesterday, well, we have said in recent programs that the leaders of the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, they
yes.
were leaders that came out of a situation. They
Yes.
were coming, they knew and they know what war does. They know that it's
Mm,
devastating. Some of
mm.
them fought in the war, some of them were generals, some of them were soldiers.
So they know the
Um,
score.
So they know the score, they know what they're fighting from, and they had a vision. For example, if I can bring to the fore, there are many doctrines, and then there were many plans, but one notable plan that actually worked, and they worked to it, and it finished, I believe, in the early 2000s, was the Marshall Plan, which was a plan to rebuild Europe, because Europe was all and sundry destroyed because of the bombings that happened of
Yeah.
World War One and Two, were more of World War Two. So
Yes.
obviously they had a plan of what they were, what was in their mind to build,
Yeah.
and they were pretty successful about it, because many of us who were born in the 60s, we don't know what it looked like, what the in the 50s and the 40s looked like, but we came, we grew, we matured, we traveled to
Yeah.
France, Germany, Spain, and it's a beautiful places. These countries are beautiful. So
Yeah.
obviously we experienced the vision of the men that rebuilt Europe. We lived in their vision, and even now we are still living in that vision. Our children, your children, my children, they don't know what war looks like. They don't know what the devastation looks like. Never mind us.
Yeah.
But 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 then when you add the present leadership and those who are craving and wanting to be prime ministers and presidents and
Mm.
such, what do they have in mind? What vision do they have? Now, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that probably they don't have any, but if you compare it to what our fathers and mothers had, they don't have a vision,
Mm.
because because I would say, and probably I'm rather presumptuous to say, but let me say it anyway. If it's going to bring um, activity to your board and
Yeah.
conversation, that our leaders of today, they don't have anything. They don't have anything. They don't know where
Nothing.
they're going.
No
They don't know what
substance.
they're doing. There's no substance about them.
No
You know,
conviction.
there's no conviction. All they want is power. All they want to know is that they can put it on their CVs that they've been prime minister, and then when they leave prime ministership or premiership, then there is a world of speaking engagements. There's a world
Yeah.
of writing
Yeah.
books. There's a world of being a part of the World Economic Forums, the Bilderbergs, you know, as many conspiracy theorists would say, part of the Illuminati groupings and all of that, you know. But that is all, Sylbourne, that is all. And I am
Yeah.
afraid to imagine what this world is going to be like in the next 20, 40, 60 years, if the world lasts that long. It's going to be a frightening place to live in, because all what it is, all what's going on now, Sylbourne, is
Mm.
control. They want people to give up their cars, their petrol and their diesel cars, to buy an electric car. So then
Yeah.
they can either control where you go, what you do. They can turn off your car. I mean, how many men, how many crooks are there going to be that's going to try and steal a car? They can just turn it off. Tesla can
Yeah.
just turn off a car anywhere in the world, because mechanics don't come
Everything is
out and say,
everything is everything is linked. They're linking everything.
yeah, everything is linked. Everything is digitized. Even the currency, it's being
Yeah.
spoken of now more than
Yeah.
any other time, that they want to make a digital currency.
Yeah. That's what they're talking about with the whole digital thing, is whereby you have no control. They are in control of it, and you are being held in constraint.
Your listeners, Silborn, your
Mm.
listeners, those who listen to you on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, they've got to open their eyes. I think you've got to You've got to, on the different programs that you do, which are good, I think, and you're reaching out to all sectors of society and such, and politicians and economists and social activists and such. But we've got to open the eyes of those who listen to us.
Yes.
We've got to we've got to allow them, we've got to tell them, open your eyes, look and see what's going on around you. Do not always say, yes, sir, 3 bags full, sir. No, don't. When they say jump, you don't jump to everything that they say and say, how high? No. No, they want to control the masses, and in telling you the truth, they've partially done so already. They have partially done so already.
There was a practice run a few years ago, isn't it?
Well, with the COVID, yes.
Well, you
Yes.
said it, not I. Yeah.
They told everybody to wear masks, and everybody wore masks. They told everybody to stay home and
Stay home.
and tongue in cheek to stand outside your door every Thursday and clap for the NHS. And now they kick the NHS in the balls, mate. And the NHS is on its face, yet they won't do anything to help the NHS. Look into these areas, whether you are Christians or not. Let's be sensible. It's not about being religious about it. It's not being religious. I think that we've got to be able to look and sensibly examine what's going on around us, because it's not right, listenership. All those who follow Sylbourne, it's whatever is going on in government, whatever's going on in the financial circles. And if you notice, they've begun to talk about digitizing the currency. Now, if you notice the trend of how they do things, they talk about it first. They put little seeds in the minds of people first. And then slowly but surely, they bring it into, let's say, in our case, in the UK, they bring it into the Houses of Parliament. They begin for the, for government and for MPs to talk about it. And then slowly, they begin to allow the banks and the financial institutions to then bring financial instruments into play that will then bring credence to why we need digital money.
In Jamaica, they have been talking about this. This company called Beryllium, which they keep robbing. It's like a Brinks van bringing money to the banks, and they keep breaking it and they keep robbing it. So they said this is the argument why we need a cashless society. That's what they've been using. And the Prime Minister says we are moving forward. And the Prime Minister said we're talking about AI, digitalization, nuclear. He's saying all the things. Is like somebody is actually, this is where you need to go. This is where you need to go. And that is what
I wouldn't.
Go on.
And I wouldn't be surprised, Sil, my friend, in as much as I'm not into. I don't like to know that people and companies get robbed, and because sometimes in robbery situations people get hurt and people die or whatever. I'm not into that. But I would not be surprised if these things are not planned and staged so as to bring in a particular thing to happen. I would not be surprised. Look, my mind is running at 100 miles an hour now. Look at that guy in America, that young guy that had a Bitcoin company. I can't remember his name, but they arrested him. He was in Bahamas. I think they arrested him and they sent him back. Now, we haven't heard anything else more about him, have we?
No.
Now, isn't that strange? Don't you? I mean, I'm just asking your listeners. Isn't that strange that all of a sudden he was some weeks, months, years back, probably a year, 2 years, 2.5 years earlier, he was lauded and applauded for being a brilliant guy. Then all of a sudden, he's a pariah. All of a sudden, he's done something. He's fraud. He's done this. It's a Ponzi scheme. Blah blah blah. They're looking for him. They found him. He's in prison, and then nothing. There's absolutely nothing. He hit the world stage, the world news. They're looking for this guy. They found the guy, and they've smeared him. And then all of a sudden, you don't hear nothing else about him.
And now, then also the PayPal guy,
yeah, isn't that strange? You see, the countries now in Britain, United States, and other countries, they are now talking favorably about. They're talking as if the banks now, the central banks, need to be the ones to control the Bitcoin, or needs to control the digital coin. What they're afraid, they didn't want any one particular individual to control this digital currency.
Yes.
They want to control it. So in order for them to have full control of it, they'll destroy a life, so to speak,
to follow
get hold of what it is, then fix it, that they will work on it, and then they what's the word? Then they normalize it.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's then okay to have Bitcoin. It's okay to have the digital coin, because that's the best way forward. You see, we've got to look. I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
No, it's not about conspiracy. I think the whole thing regarding conspiracy is when people say that sometimes when people are thinking, and you got to think things through, because we're not robots. People like to be robots, and that is why they will say anything that somebody's thinking, or is thinking, or whatever like that. They don't want people to think, and people have to think, and to bring that out. That's the whole thing. But you know what? I'm going to have to do a show specifically on this whole aspect and get a couple of experts on AI, digitalization, and the way forward, and we see things are. Because even with the AI stuff, the AI thing, I've seen some work on it, and I tell you, it can do things that you want it to do. Yeah. And there's I worry about the future in a way, especially for the youths, because if AI and all these things make it so easy and something shut down, there's no thinking process. I mean, we used to go to the library and do a research, but Garry, put in the right words, you can create an essay.
Yeah. I mean, and I was listening. I don't know if you've heard it. There is something that's out there that I listened to. It was an AI was being questioned by a human being, and the answers that this AI, computer generated, was given was just frightening. It was frightening, because with the thought processes that that computers now can think almost like our human being will think. The decision-making process that then is enacted and that can be done without any empathy at all. It's terrible. It's frightening. It is really very frightening.
Garry, the very interesting one is when your computer is trying to verify if you're a human.
Yeah.
So the computer is trying to verify if you are a human. So after a while, it is like that movie, iRobot, because I was going into an account and it says, tick the box if you're a human. So therefore, the computer is seeking verification. The computer is programmed to seek verification if you are a human or a computer. And that's where it goes. So there are two things you can do. One can abort it, and one can don't go about it, or one can join it and understand what is happening. Because just like when Facebook came out, Just like when these TikTokers or whatever came out, I was anti TikTok until some people got me into it, and it's been great wonders because I'm using it. But
Right.
even Facebook, I know people who said they wouldn't go on Facebook, and lo and behold, you see they're sneaking on Facebook because the
Yes.
system ties you down. And the funny thing about social media as well, and your phone, it will give you a message and say that you have done less on your phone or on your social media or your airtime or your whatever time, your visual time. It's telling you that it is like it is encouraging you to go more on the phone. So one has got to be careful with all these things because at the end of the day, it is trying to capture you, you know, and keep you focused.
Mm,
Gary,
mm.
well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, Gary, let's wrap up. And what? Oh, right, because you're there in the States, and because you can stay as long as you want.
Listen, it's now what time? It's now quarter past
Five.
5, isn't it?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
quarter
it's
past
now
five there.
quarter
Your
past
five was
5.
different. And quarter
So
past
I mean, it's warm. It's about in its 20s now. Still, it's quite warm.
yes.
Um,
But I
I
can
haven't really been out. I haven't really been outside much. I do go outside, but not
yeah.
to walk up and down as such, really. But it's lovely here. It's great.
Yes. But it's lovely here in the UK. It's
I
dark
heard,
here.
yeah, I've heard of the heat wave you
Oh
guys are
yes,
having.
it has been having some beautiful weather. Some beautiful weather. That yesterday, I after I finished work, I just said, I look and I see the garden and I said, okay, now is the time now because coming out of the winter is sort of come, and I just took out my lawnmower and I just took out my trimmer and I just and just do a massive thing and just get a big jug of juice outside there and just yeah, it was just awesome, man. And that was weekday,
Brilliant.
man. That was weekday.
Yes,
That's not a Saturday. That was weekday, up to
yes,
7:30. There I was doing a gardening. That was awesome.
yes,
All right,
yes.
Gary. Listen, you take care of yourself, and we'll talk. And
All right, then, my
yeah,
brother. Yes, we'll
yeah.
talk. We'll talk.
Okay. Peace out. I
God
think there's
bless.
a moth trying to have fun with me inside here. All right, take care. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining, and for those on Instagram, those on but not on Instagram actually, those on TikTok, and those on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you so much for joining tonight. And as we do, we was keeping the spotlight on the UK today because sometimes you get so caught up with everything, you forget. Talk about Tina Turner passed away. UK migration gone up with Ukraine and Hong Kong arrivals. Um, there's one thing I didn't talk about, and it was a flight surgeon Peter Brown. Hundreds turn out to his funeral. He's a gentleman who was here for many years. Um, but we'll talk about that some other time. And that at his funeral, I think it was today, and Downing Street. Well, it was a scare, but it wasn't a major scare to a certain extent. But I guess the prime ministers and leaders of the world happened in the USA as well, that where there was a scare. People got to be very wary about that. Government, prime ministers in Jamaica, even the threat to the prime minister, I'm sure they're going to be checking out that gunman or whatever like that who made those threats. Energy bills set to stay high despite price cap cut. Crazy. And Jamaica, we keep the spotlight on Jamaica regarding the salary crisis. I will keep the spotlight on Jamaica in regards to the Republic. We got to make sure we do that. And Saturday night, I'll be back on Talk and Sip, and we'll have some guests, and we'll take it from there. So have a good night. God bless you, and peace out until